Hey, so just in case I end up staying up way too late, knowing myself, and end up sleeping through the morning, I thought I'd put together this video kind of explaining how to do the weight version of this assignment for you, and I'll go ahead and I'll pin it in the Slack conversation. Um, I'm gonna run through like the setup part really fast, just because I'm sure you've already done it for the impact and the other parts. Um, and then I'll slow down once I get to doing the parts with like the animating and stuff. So for the type part, replacing that with, I don't know, I guess weight. And then adding some colors. You can use the ones in the asset browser. Materials, standard and physical should be fine. Let's see. Use something simple for the floor. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the material itself. And then viewport, no scaling? Maybe 2040? There you go, just so that way I can see what it looks like once it's, I guess that way it looks better when it comes to render. Maybe change the tiling. So it's in this tag right here. No, that's too small. Wow, I guess I'm gonna have to leave it one by one. That's okay. Next, to put some texture on these items, so I'm gonna put that on the ball, and then maybe a plastic, ping-pongy, bright plastic. Let's say something like this one, and I can adjust it. So this is rough blue. Can make it lighter. Honestly, I might just make my own color for this one. Let's see. I'll just take off the tag from there, and I'll take off the tags from the floor and that. And maybe even the type, because I'll add another one to the type, and I'll just use this white material that's here real quick. I'm going to control drag it. So that way I have a duplicate of it. I can rename that to type. So I'll use that for the type in a minute. But as for this one, on the reflection channel, I want to up the roughness a little bit. There we go. And then I'll throw that on the ping pong ball. And then as for the one that will be the type, I go to the diffuse channel and pick a color that I want that to be, and I'll throw it on the type for now so I can see what's happening. Yeah, that looks okay. Something subtle. If the ping pong ball passes in front of it, will I be able to see it? It looks like it. And then as for the tune ball, if you want to change the color on the tune ball that is in the luminance channel, you'll want to double click into this texture preview down here. And then you can change the colors right here by double clicking on these. They're called knots. And so when you change that and hit OK, it'll change the color of that. But I want to make it a color, I guess that'll contrast a little with the thing behind it. So maybe like that. There we go. So Those look like they'll be okay. I might make, don't want it to be saturated. I think it's fine. I'll just leave it the way it is. So that's all set up. That's all done. Close the asset browser. Get back to this part. So now we're here getting to, let's see, I'm going to adjust the type because the type isn't on the floor. So if I hit the middle mouse button, or if you're not using a mouse, it's this button right here. We'll switch you between views. Have the move tool on, have the type selected, and I'm just going to use the green arrow. So when I hover over it, it highlights it. And I'm just going to move that down until I see that it lines up with this arrow right here, which is lined up with the floor. Just that way I know that's on the floor now. All right, cool. Looks like that is set up. This is the studio camera. This is for the squash and stretch stuff. So these are the controllers that you need to worry about for those. There's a bowling ball, ping pong ball, and the type. So I'm going to move that down there. Just that way I know kind of where all the stuff that I'm animating is. All right, so now for getting everything animated, this is going to be pretty similar to the way that it was in After Effects, where you're going to make the up and down motions, and then you're going to change the curves so that they look like a bouncing ball curve, like a boing boing that you would draw on a piece of paper. As for the lighter ball, these will take more time to slowly decrease, whereas with the bowling ball, the heavy one, it's going to decrease much quicker. And then for the squash and stretch, that one's one that's just going to be, it's not going to decrease, it's just going to be consistent up and down, I guess. So the way keyframing works in here, I'm sure you've kind of got it down already, but we'll start off with the ping pong ball. Here is the attributes panel. So there's the object manager, attributes panel. I go to the coordinates. It looks like this is already keyframed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off those keyframes. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift, and then I'm going to click on each of these diamonds so that doesn't have any keyframes on them. And for now, I want to start off by just keyframing one value. So that's just the Y value. Start at the top and have it come down after, let's say, 12 frames, right? So what would be the floor? So how big is my ping pong ball? My ping pong ball is, I want to make it an even size, let's say 14, right? So I'm changing the size of this to 14. This is my ping pong ball. Attributes, object panel. Then we go back to coordinates. And I know that it's going to probably be 7-ish. Let's see. No. Is it 14? All right, so 14 then, because I made it 14 here, it's perfectly flat to the floor at 14 centimeters, because I guess that's the radius and our axis is right dead center. So from here to there is 14, but all the way across is 28. Math. All right, so we got that. So now that that's there, I need to keyframe it again. If I wanted to keyframe every time I make a change up and down, I can turn on this auto key feature, and this will keyframe whatever has been had a key added to it and then is manipulated. But it won't work for something that hasn't been keyed yet. So like if I turn this on, move ahead in time, and I move this up, it'll key that. But if I move it to the side, it will not key that because I haven't set it as active. So that's something to keep in mind when doing that. So previously it was at, I'm gonna make this an even number, 533, I guess. There we go. So let's say 433. Next. So boing comes back up. And then so if we want to take that one that was on the floor earlier, we want to copy it. If you hold down Control and drag that key, it'll copy it. So now we have a up, down, and so I could keep going with keyframing it this way, or I can copy what, I'll make the curves, copy them and adjust them. That's another way of doing it. So for now I'm going to turn off the auto key. This button right here is for my dope sheet or timeline. And you'll be like, oh, well, where are my keyframes? You need to hover over the edge of this and drag it up, and that will show you more of that. And then I'm going to go to the curves panel. So this is my position Y, curves. And I know that this is my up position. I know this is my down because this is at 0 and this was when it was at 533. So I need to break these handles. There's 2 ways to break them. The fast way is to hold down, I believe, Shift, and that will break the handle. The other way is just to select that keyframe, and then up here there is a break tangents. The shortcut is B, so you can also just hit B, and that will break the tangents as well. And so we just have to make that bump curve there and stretch this out. If we hold down Control, that'll drag it straight out. Give it some time to hover. Take this one. I'm going to break this tangent. Drag it up. See what that's like so far. Boing, boing. Cool. Now I can copy, paste, and drag those. I'm going to give myself a little bit more time. So I was at 96. Now I'm at 120. And so I'm going to copy, paste my changing keyframes. Let's see if this works. So just take the position, Control, drag. And let's see how this goes. So I'm going to take a look at my curves here. And of course I have a much higher curve all of a sudden, and then a low curve and a high curve. So I can just take this, hold down Shift when I drag it up and down, and take this one, Shift, maybe make it a little less spaced, make this one a little less high, and just try and imagine I'm drawing out that I guess that kiddish path. And I can take this, hold down Shift and drag it in, take this, and I'm just adjusting their timing now and all that to try and give me a more I guess realistic idea of what I'm looking for. And I can even take these last 2 here and drag them out. Go back to this, see what I got, make some adjustments again. Probably needs to be closer in. Control, drag this in. Shift, drag this down. Yeah, that looks better. And then if I want it to look like it's moving forward, like across, I guess what I've got going on here, I would need to keyframe the X position. And so I'll come over to the ping pong again, come to the beginning of my timeline, keyframe the initial position here, and then come to the end of where I want it to be done moving and just move it forward. And then keyframe that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. Now the only thing is that I'm sure my X keyframes, so I can't see them even though I've selected them here. The way I find them is to go H, and that'll show me my keyframes. I want to change these keyframes from curved like this, which is easy eased, and you can see that's here, spline. I want it to instead be linear, and that will give me a better path for this. Yeah, that looks like that'll be good. If I want an additional little tiny bounce at the end, I can definitely do that with the Y position. So H, help me find what I'm looking for. To move around in here, I can use the shortcuts 1 and then click and drag. 2 zooms in and out, and I think that's all there is. Let's see, 1 and 2. Yeah, move view and scale view. Those are the only 2 options you got in here. Up here, if you weren't looking through the camera and you needed to navigate, you can use 1 to pan, 2 to zoom, 3 to orbit, and then I believe, I don't think 4 does anything. It's just 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, so let's look back through the camera on that and continue what we're doing here. I don't have to go to that other view if I want to copy drag these. I can just do it here, control drag until they hover over each other. And then once again, bring this down, bring this down, bring this in, bring this in, and just make some adjustments to that so it looks like a tiny little bounce instead of such a high bounce. That'll be the final bounce, say. Yeah, like that. Okay. So H will center all of my stuff as well. Let's make it even smaller than this. That's fine. Okay. So I'm going to switch back to my dope sheet view, and I'm going to make sure these line up with each other. Let's say they both end at 96. So I'm going to just take that, line that up. Take this, scooch it over a smidge. There we go, just like that. Okay, so that's the light bounce. All done. So next is the heavy bounce. So the heavy bounce, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing as I did with the ping pong ball. I don't necessarily need it to move forward. I do need the Y position change though. So what I'm going to do is now that I have my dope sheet open, I can just select these and hit delete, and that'll delete that. But I do have to go back to bowling, and I'm going to keyframe the Y position once again. I'm going to have it come down after 12 seconds, and I want to see how big my bowling ball is. So I'm going to make it an even number, 71. So that way when I want it to be flat on the floor, coordinates 71 will be exactly flat on the floor. Keyframe that. I'm going to turn on my auto key for this because I'm not going to make too many bounces. Let's say it's only going to come up about this much, so I'm going to say about 230, then have it come back down on the floor. All I need to do is grab this position keyframe, control drag, so now it's back on the floor, and then have it come up only a little bit again. And let's see, what number is that? Let's say 120, I guess. And then control drag this one again, so I've got another floor position, so bang, 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 something like that. It'll maybe do 3 bounces. And now I gotta change the curvature of my keyframes again, so I can select this one, hit B to break it if I want, and just drag these handles up like this. Drag this handle out. I want it to come straight out. Control drag. I don't want it to hover in the air too long, so I'm going to make some adjustments to the timing once I get the easing kind of worked out. So let's see what this is like. Yeah, so that might be bouncing for way too long once it hits the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these 2, and I'm going to just drag them in. Let's see, I'm going to go back to the dope sheet here. And so it's these keyframes I'm looking at. I'm going to just squish them in like this. Maybe even more this way, like that. Let's see what this looks like. So of course I got to make some adjustments. This is too far out, so it's got to get dragged in. And maybe this can come down like that. Come down like that. Come down like that. I want to make sure this one, B, it's broken. There we go. Do a little upkeep on that. Maybe that second bounce comes too high, so I'm going to shift drag it down. See what that's like. Maybe my first keyframe, control drag this in. Maybe it's not falling fast enough for my liking, so boing, boing, boing. I'm going to take these and hold down shift and drag them in. A little more. This might be hovering for too long, so control drag it in. This is all about mini adjustments, so this is going to be a to taste kind of thing. There we go. So, I think I'm gonna zoom in kind of on these keyframes right here. And so I'm just using 2 and then remember 1 to pan. And I just don't like how this was like curved kind of like this. And so that meant it would like slow a smidge before it hit the ground. So I want it to come like fast down when it hits the ground. And then H will show me all those keyframes like that. Let's see, this might need to come in a little more. It's not so bad. Yeah, that's fine. And then what I would do is, from here, I might, so I'm going to go back to this view, and then remember 2 will zoom us in and out. And 1 will let us pan a little. I'm going to add, let's see, I might even stretch this out a little. So I'm selecting all these keyframes, stretching them out to 24. Yeah, that's fine. But from here, I want to go to the bowling ball and set a keyframe for the X position. And then come forward to maybe like 36. And do a little bit on the forward. Just a little bit. I don't want it to be a lot because I do want it to seem slow. But less than that. Less than that. Let's see. I go to curves so I can see that change. H so that I can see. There we go. What I'm looking at. It's fine that it's eased, but maybe it's just too much. There we go. So that's fine. I might want a little bit more extreme easing, so I'm gonna control drag just the handles a little. Yeah, that's fine. And then I want a little bit of rotation. So the rotation that I want is, I'm just testing all of that till I find the one. So it's this one, B for bank, and zoom out a little, and have this also rotate just a little bit forward. And so because I have the auto keying turned on, as soon as I keyframed it and then made a change, it documented that change for me. And then I'm going to go to my rotation B, H to zoom in on that. Make it a little bit less, maybe less than that. Maybe a little more rolling, so I'll have it go, I guess, further on the, let's see, I guess go back to the dope sheet. I'm gonna zoom out, and then I'm gonna take my position and rotation. I'm gonna stretch out how long it goes for, and then up the amount of change a little. So let's say, I guess So I'll leave it at 15, but maybe make it go a little bit further. Let's see. Oh, it did not keep that keyframe. What happened? Let's see. Here to here. Okay, there we go. So turn up that value. I'll probably need a little more rotation. So let's say 30. I do want it to come to like a slower halt. So I might, I gotta pick one, then H to zoom in on it. Let's see, I might just go like this. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's better. So faster at the beginning, slower to the end. Same for this one. H, take this and drag it up. See what that looks like. Might be too dramatic for the rotation. Alright, I think I just might need to drag it out a little further. So I'll take these two, drag them further out, see what that's like. Okay, so let's see what our keyframes look like now for that. I don't like how fast it suddenly moves when it hits the ground. So maybe I need to make some adjustments to the position change on the X. Just take this first one. I'll bring that back down, but then I'll bring this one out. So control drag this. See what that's like. Control drag it in. I might need a little bit more rotation. So let's see, I'll take my rotation keyframes, H, do kind of the same as what I did to the other one. I'm going to come out of the camera view and I'm going to zoom in on the ball. Get myself positioned in there so I can see what's happening when it does that. I just don't like how it comes to a halt like this. Maybe, let's see, I'll take these keyframes for the X and rotation. I'm going to move these a little earlier. So right before it hits the ground, it moves forward a little, and then it hits the ground, and then starts rolling, and then I guess comes to a halt. To make sure these line up. Yeah, that's fine. So I'll leave that at that. Look back through the camera view, and I've got the bowling ball now. Got the ping done. Next is to do the squash and stretch stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and make my view bigger up here for this. And I like to do this one from one of the side views. It just makes things a little bit easier. And so I have both of those selected, and I can then drag this, I guess, up in space. Let's see, at the beginning of these, let's try and line these up. About there is fine. So now that's going to be keyframing the Y position, and then come forward in time about half a second, bring it all the way down to the floor, and then same thing about taking it back up by using the control drag of the keyframes on it. And so, okay, I keyframed it, but my keyframes aren't down here, and this would be because the auto key, or this automatic mode for showing the keyframes needs to be on. So once I do that, I can see my keyframes. I'm going to take the top and bottom one and control drag them so that they are there now. So up, down, seems fine. I do want to take both of these, and I think that the Z position needs to be zeroed out so they're perfectly, I guess, aligned with each other. So that looks fine. I might need it to, so things need to kind of get mixed up a little bit with this, is that these need to be offset from each other. So I need the top to be offset from the bottom. So it'll go first, and then it'll line up with the other one. And so things are going to get kind of wild for a second here, because what needs to happen is I need to take this middle keyframe of the bottom keyframes, this middle one here, and I need to control drag it so that I have two. And then for the, I guess for where this is now going to go up, I need, let's see, how do I need this done? So I need this top position keyframe needs to be centered to that bottom drop, and that way it can come up. But then I need the bottom to kind of like, I need the top to hit first before the bottom gets there. So let's see. There we go. So comes down, needs more time to squash. See, so this probably needs to come down further anyway. So I'm going to switch to the move tool here, make sure that that's the right one. I have the squash further. So comes down, squishes, comes back up. But then I kind of need the top to come up first and the bottom to follow later. So I'm going to take these bottom keyframes and drag them out a little. Just like that. And what I want to do is I want then to take this end keyframe for the top one and drag it out a little. So let's see, just like that. Down, up. Okay. So let's see. Kind of getting it there. I also need another additional beginning keyframe here for that top one to hold for a minute. So we got a lot of keyframes here. The way that they look together is kind of like this. We have a flat and flat at the beginning into this, and then a flat at the middle of our bottom keyframe change here. And we need to make these once again also break, so B to break it, and then bounce those curves like a drawing of a bouncy ball. Control drag it out, control drag it out, H, And then I'm going to take a look at this one, and I need to do the same thing. B to break it, bring that down, B to break it, bring that down, H to show me all my keyframes, Control drag it out, H to show me all my keyframes again. I'm just kind of zooming using those zoom tools I was talking about earlier. Let's see, so it's looking a little funny, of course. Let's see what we can do to fix that. So what do I need to be happening? I guess maybe I don't want this to come down as fast. So I guess I'm going to unbreak this, B to unbreak it, and then just control, let's see, or I'll just drag it out this way. See how this goes. So see if this bounces better this way. Yeah, okay. So instead of breaking those keyframes, you're just going to break the one in the middle. You're going to make it do the bounce. And so flat here, bounce there, comes back up. There we go. Okay, cool. Now we need to make these loop. So I would take the top and the bottom. We can see that the way that they look, the top one does this flat and then bounce in the middle, and the other ones do the bounce on the outsides and have a moment in the middle for squashing. And we need to tell it that afterwards to repeat. And the reason that I had these keyframes at the beginning to hold and look flat like that is so that once it came to the adding the repeat here, it'll stay flat here and do a continue, like a perfect loop, I guess. So then now it'll come down, bounce up. And so if we stop playing that and come and look at the front view, we have the ping pong ball, we have the heavy ball, and we have the squash and stretch ball, all doing what they're supposed to be doing. I believe that the ping pong ball could probably, I would recommend having it go completely off screen by the end, something like that. There you go. So that way it's not so awkward where it ends on screen. So I'm going to switch back to dope sheet, zoom out, and move that. And I only need 96 frames, so switching back to 96. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. Ooh, hopefully I covered most of it. I tried to be thorough. If you have any questions, I'll be tutoring later today at 2. Hopefully that's good. All right. Bye for now.